like right now. So if I can have everybody's attention. Alrighty. Yeah. And then I'm gonna get back. What happened here?
Oh, Elio moved it.
What?
No, Elio moved it.
Yeah, I think it's better. Like,
So yeah, move
right
that,
here.
and then this needs to be plugged in once it goes out.
What's that? I don't think so.
All right, everybody, very quickly, I want everybody to look at their name badge. Everybody look at their name badge. Does everybody have a number on your name badge? Is there anybody that does not have a number on your name badge? You do not have a number? You're 6, you're 7. Anybody else not have a number?
Yeah.
You're 8, you're 9, you're 10, you're 1. Anybody else not have a number? You're 2, you're 3. There's a lot of 2s. But there's only one number 1. No, there's a lot of number 1s too.
So this is being recorded, guys. So
we got a really exciting night ahead of us, so let's go ahead and get this started. Before we get into the debate, I have to make this real clear. I want to make a special announcement thanking Andy Zitney and Paul Black at McKesson. None of us would be here tonight if it weren't for these guys. They're the ones that made this magic happen. They're the masterminds behind this all. Thank you very much to McKesson, to Andy Zitney, to Paul Black, to Lonnie and Alex, and the entire team. Alrighty, so I'm going to introduce to you the team Blockchain and the team Not Chain. On team Blockchain, we have Jay Carpenter. Jay is the founder of Desert Blockchain. He hosts the largest set of blockchain and decentralized web technology events in Arizona. He brings a new and radically different approach to protecting against traditional cyber and security threats, and is passionate about tipping the scales back in the favor of the white hats with innovative market incentives. And I can just say I've been able to spend some time with Jay. He is a sharp guy when it comes to blockchain. We can all get a lot out of Jay, as well as his group, Desert Blockchain, on the meeting. We also have on team Blockchain, Spencer Mott. Spencer is the Chief Information Security Officer over at McKesson. He also served as the Global CIO at Amgen Biotechnology. At EA Sports, he was the VP at CISO, where he led global initiatives in the US, the UK, and Switzerland, while simultaneously providing global leadership to the Motion Picture Association of America. Wow. Perhaps his proudest moments came during his time in the Royal Marines Armed Forces and the Metropolitan Police Service's Serious Organized Crime Group at the New Scotland Yard, working on the Murder Squad, the Organized Economic Crime Command Group, and the National High-Tech Crime Unit, and with the UK Security Services. You want to see somebody impressive, you're looking at him. Now, on team Not Chain, we have on the far, that side over there, we have Elio Greco. Many of you may know Elio. He's very well known in cybersecurity circles in Phoenix. For those of you who don't know or have seen Elio around, his name is Elio. It is not Elio. So Mr. Greco, not Richard Greco, but Elio Greco, is one of the brightest cybersecurity minds in the Valley. And I can speak for that myself. He's worked on a variety of systems, including multiple state and federal security collaboratives and grants. He's the co-chair of Cybersecurity Canyon, currently assisting in the preparation and execution of the 2017 NIST NICE Grants Grant. For the past 8 years, his research has been focused on restoring the original freedoms and innovative spirit of the internet through distributed technologies. He believes that while blockchains have gained tremendous popularity due in large part to their utility for financial speculation, many other data constructs and prior distributed systems offer dramatically improved properties and performance for data distribution and storage. Elio is a very smart guy if you haven't had a chance to talk to him. And our last member on Team NotChain, we've got Scotard Banks. Scotard is currently the Information Security Officer at WebPT. And he brings 25 plus years of experience in the information security, compliance, operational risk, and enterprise infrastructure across multiple sectors, including financial services, telecom, healthcare, e-commerce, higher ed, and supply chain. At WebPT, he's led the company to a high trust rating of 5 in the EMR product category. He served as the CISO for Scottsdale Healthcare, and he was the first CISO at ASU, where he created and implemented the program and the blueprint for the robust security program that they have today. How many ASU students do we have here? Cybersecurity ASU students. Say thank you to Scotard Banks. All right, and with that said, here we go. We are going to ask the Team Blockchain. Team Blockchain, opening statements. You have 3 minutes.
All right. Ian, are we going to use a mic or?
Right here.
Okay, this one works.
Okay, so I'm Jay Carpenter, and a little bit about my background. Basically, I come from a telecom background, many years in telecom, and about 3 years ago, I heard the siren song of blockchain. And basically, since the time that I realized what a profound, fundamental paradigm shift this is, it's been pretty much my focus almost 24 hours, well, my waking hours. So I'm interested in creating a new realm of naming, addressing, numbering, and identity. And in my years with the telecom industry, this was a vexing problem. And I think blockchain brings in an opportunity to create some really strong innovations in that area. So I'm passionate about it. I think this is a fundamental shift, and it's the most profound realm of innovation that I've ever seen, and I've been through 1 or 2 iterations of this. So I'm going to turn it over to Spencer, and
all right,
you can say what.
Okay, I'll give it a stab. So for me, when you think about general technology, there's probably been 2 waves, right? One is the internet, which was predominantly put together, to share information and collaborate. And when it was put together, it became a little bit of purposeless technology that people kind of worked out, how it'd be used. And if you look at the early innovations around the internet, they were reasonably trivial, and we're just starting to see meaningful services and technology delivered on the internet backbone. But when you think about the blockchain, I think what we have is a very prescriptive system of transacting. So we have a reason to have it exist. It's a very specific reason. And I think with the blockchain, what we're finally seeing is an opportunity to deliver on some of the things we really care about within the internet ecosystem. So, the importance of trust, the importance of having mutual interest, the importance of having, a joint benefit of doing the right thing as it relates to those transactions, immutability and traceability as well. So, if you think about, in the world that we operate in cybersecurity, this shift from, to an extent, confidentiality to data integrity, I think, blockchain really offers a great opportunity in that regard. So that's why I'm excited about it.
Team Blockchain is incredibly efficient. They didn't need their 3 minutes. All right, Team NotChain, you have 3 minutes to make your opening statements.
All right, thank you. So everyone's really hot on blockchain right now because free money, right? It's going up. It's inevitable that it was going to go up. It's a deflationary system. So this was just how it had to play out. Now, it is an interesting technology. It's kind of like when we invented the internet. And just like when we invented the internet, we missed a few things. There's a lot of potential there, but as we started growing it, there were a whole lot of gaps, a whole lot of things that were poorly thought out. lack of identity, and it's biting us really badly now. It's costing us trillions of dollars a year globally in breaches and all kinds of security hazards. So our goal on this team is not to say don't use blockchain, it's evil. Our goal is to say be careful. Blockchain is one subconstruct of a much larger set of constructs for distributed data. And you get a lot of the same benefits with other constructs. So do your research, do your due diligence. Don't throw everything into blockchain. You don't need to blockchain all the things. There are some serious downsides to that. So we're here to give you a little bit of caution to say, whoa, slow down. Before you jump in head first, let's make sure there's no rocks hiding under the water there.
So I've been in IT for about 28 years. I've worked in ISPs. I've been around to see IPv4, IPv6, IPsec, all in TLS, all new technologies and encryption. My only problem with with blockchain is just the identity aspect of it. I work in healthcare. I have regulations that require me to make sure I know who I'm dealing with. So that is my only issue with blockchain. I think it's a great technology. I've been doing encryption forever. So this is a great technology, but it's just, it doesn't fit this use case for my particular needs.
All right, let's get into it. Who is ready for some confrontation?
Let's do it.
All right, team blockchain. What are security assumptions of blockchain, and how is that different than today's predominant security paradigms? You have 2 minutes.
All right, so I think, as I alluded to in the first statement, we kind of, perhaps everything that we care about is already breached. I don't know, certainly a huge chunk of it is already breached. So what are we starting to really care about? And my perspective is we should start really caring about data integrity and the ability to have at least some form of check where we can prove that a record as it was originally authored is a record that originally, that is the record at any point in time. And I think, that shift from confidentiality to recognizing the importance of data integrity is a paradigm shift. And I think that's where some of the attributes around the blockchain really lend themselves to what we're trying to achieve in security. And then if you apply to that, alerts and triggers and events using, blockchain backbone and this shared ledger, which at least in the majority of the ledgers that are available, you can get some degree of trust. I think super exciting. And I would say it's not always just about whether it's a new technology, a new wave of technology. I would say that this is technology that's been around for 10 years, since the inception of Bitcoin, worked on a massive scale as it relates to Bitcoin. And there are different flavors and different networks of blockchain that we could use for some of the critical business problems that we want to solve today. So we're talking about lots of different variations, and I think I can tackle the identity issue. We get asked that question as well. So I'm a big fan.
Thank you, Spencer. Not Jane. You have 2 minutes to rebuttal.
Oh, did you want to get another? Yeah.
In 30 seconds, you have
25 seconds. The opportunity here is to counter the monetary element that's at play in cybersecurity. That's the possibility. So blockchain's already involved in cybersecurity. It's called ransomware. And we have an opportunity. So, yeah. Sorry. So we have an opportunity, in my view, to create some white hat market incentives to counter the black hat market incentives, because there is no contest. The financial incentives at play in the black hat side are—
Team blockchain, your time is done. Team not chain.
All right, so in the interest of time, I'm going to leave out all the sources and a lot of detail. If you want those, find me afterward. So the difference here with blockchain, in prior systems, you have long relationships with orgs or people, like a bank. You get to know them. There's reputation, there's stakes built into that. And trust is rooted in that individual or in that institution. Blockchain, you're looking at a transient membership, adversarial, pseudonymous consensus system. A lot of big words in there. It makes it sound fancy, like it's a good idea. So the problem is there are some issues hiding in those big words. So everyone knows about the 51% attack. So there is a major assumption that underlies blockchain, and that is that, well, let's not say blockchain, so that it actually depends on the consensus model. Algorand is even lower, it's 30%, but most of the predominant ones, 51%. So when you are you're putting your trust in the system itself, and you are trusting that less than half of the people on the network are collaborating against you or the general network at any one time. If that ever fails, then you have a major problem because you can't trust the system at all. They can do whatever they want. And very quickly, someone in the early days, like, no, that would be too much compute power. There's no way any one org or person will ever get that much compute power. And then right after they said that, by a few months, one of the mining pools climbed over 51% for a few hours and then dropped below. Last I checked, China's now at 70-something% and steady. They're the ones making the chips. They get first dibs on those. They're not going to drop back below. So it's putting all of the trust in the system and setting it up so that it has these assumptions. I'm not even going to get into all the different attacks, concentration attacks, dilution attacks that are trivial because of those original internet flaws in BGP and filtering of traffic shaping algorithms. It's a lot easier than you think to break that assumption and then just do whatever you want with this protocol. Most people say, well, no one would ever do that because it would devalue the currency. Nation states don't care about that, so check your trust models.
What he said.
All right, sticking with Team Notchain. Team Notchain, what are the potential regulatory or legal consequences of combining blockchain with cybersecurity?
Well, with most regulations, is all of determined by identity and the trust that you can have within a particular set of parties. So it's not a lot of regulations, because the regulations are very broad. There's nothing really that detailed that's going to give us where blockchain is kind of rise to acceptance or not. I mean, basically, at the current rate of how regulations are being formed and put together, there's going to be some issue with how we leverage blockchain without having a proper identity and trust and a long-lasting trust model. I think when we look at blockchain from a regulatory standpoint, we must look at tokenization versus blockchain, because it is the way to go from our standpoint of regulations. So that is my little 1-minute dissertation on this. But you want to talk about this more?
No, keep going.
When it comes to most of the regulations that's been formed, I guess the main regulation problems we're going to have is around identity and trust and how those are going to be played out in the regulation space. If you look at HIPAA and you look at some other ones where they really go into access control and identity validation, this is going to be very kind of pressing on the blockchain ability to implement itself.
Thank you very much, Team Notchain. Team Blockchain, you have 2 minutes to rebuttal.
I do a minute. So there was a time when we used to live in a world where you could leave all your front doors open. And you lived in small communities and no one used to go and rob each other's house because there was always a self-interest of actually looking after each other. Now, I know we'll never achieve that again, but when that started breaking down was when like central stores of all the assets started being created. We created this ecosystem of intermediaries. And I think, you know, the blockchain offers a virtual way to go back to how we used to be in ecosystems of trust, and why I kind of agree with Jay, there's always going to be a technical way to attack the system. The 51% thing will only be attacked technically, because like with any consensus system, there needs to be an incentive as well. And I would say the incentive for the majority of the nodes is always going to be to protect the ecosystem. So that's why I think from the regulatory perspective, what I would say is, what are you going to regulate? This is a shared ecosystem of thousands, if not millions of nodes. The piece you're going to see regulation, I think, is on the interfaces. And you're probably going to see interfaces regulated in terms of exchanges, interfaces, and then from a tax or regulatory perspective. But the nodes in the distributed environment, I'm not sure if they're even a target to apply compliance to.
So, 2 things.
Regulation and security. Number one, on the security. In this realm that's emerged, the cryptocurrency, crypto economy space, people look at things a little differently. They look at Bitcoin as a $100 billion bounty. So if anyone in this room could crack SHA-256, you would instantly earn over 100 billion. Regulation would be like trying to regulate covered wagons when all of a sudden the jet plane has been invented. The regulations don't fit anymore.
Thank you. Sticking with Team Blockchain. I really like this question personally. This kind of gets to the heart of the issue here. How do you balance the tug of war between confidentiality and transparency?
Okay, so first of all, I think you got to keep in mind that what's out there now in terms of blockchain is simply a prototype. Bitcoin, there are 3 projects in my view that are worth looking at. Everything else is noise. Bitcoin, Ethereum, and IPFS, the Interplanetary File System. So Bitcoin was an innovation in consensus. Only it just sort of was like a proof of concept. Ethereum is the same thing in terms of computation. And the third, IPFS, is file storage and some other things, and it's, in my view, much more better designed. So in terms of confidentiality versus transparency, there's a dance that's going on. It's not worked out. This is still very young. Storing data on the blockchain doesn't work, really. You need pointers. So anyway.
Yeah, I'll just go back. There's numerous flavors of blockchain, and my personal view is it lends itself to data integrity, data transparency a lot better than it does confidentiality. When you start working with, become very complex. Really think about use cases either in the supply chain or some of the customer experiences use cases. So, come from a healthcare background, I just think about the clinical trial process and informed consent and the importance of keeping a immutable record around that, and the amount of mediatories are involved in the clinical trial process or the drug development process, then blockchain lends itself very well to that, but plays on its strengths of transparency and immutability of the record and ledger.
Team Not Chain, 2 minutes, rebuttal.
I love the little yow at the end because I think it's going to be very painful if we put too much info on the blockchain. And I'm not talking about the scaling aspects. One of the biggest issues we have is people vastly underestimate the power of correlational attacks. You can do terrifying things with correlation and enough data in today's modern data mining tools. So all of these technologies are fundamentally distributed ledgers. Everyone gets a copy of all the transactions. Yes, they're pseudonymous. They are not anonymous. Anyone who tells you it's anonymous doesn't know what they're talking about. It is strongly cryptographically bound to your key, your wallet. There's no question about it. That's yours unless it gets stolen. So by doing this, we can mine insane amounts of data and say, oh, well, I have really good OPSEC. I'm very careful about what I share. Sure you are. And even if you are, there's a very notable individual who actually got killed. Osama bin Laden was found not because he didn't have good OPSEC. He was trained by us. He had amazing OPSEC. He was found because he was living in a part of that country, a very affluent neighborhood where every house had internet. He, because of his OPSEC, did not have internet. They were running couriers to cafes on the other side of town to upload and download data. So even if you have good OPSEC, when all your data's out there, I can look at the people around you and start correlating, and I can look for the holes. And if you're one of those holes, you are definitely who I'm interested in. And there are already companies out there digging through the blockchain, pulling every bit of value they can out of there. Some of them are big names, some of them are trying to do neat things, some of them are extremely malicious. And they're trying to go way beyond what Facebook could ever dream of and figure out any way they can to monetize, and some are criminal organizations and nation states. So We could do that. This biggest advantage of blockchain, of putting everything out there for everyone to look at, is also one of its most dangerous aspects.
Thank you, Elio. Sticking with Team Blockchain. Team Blockchain, what are the technical and financial ramifications of introducing blockchain into an organization? You have 2 minutes.
Oh, man.
We're gonna go for a tie, right? We're gonna go. So basically, the technical and financial ramifications of blockchain are all around the kind of scale and ability to kind of put it in place. I mean, the computational requirements to kind of scale this to a level that it's going to support millions of people is going to be going to place some hard problems on your infrastructure and your systems that you're going to have to use to kind of support that infrastructure. When you look at some of the other financial things you're going to look at, you're going to have to build out some kind of consortium area that you can split out the blockchain computation across a vast region, a bunch of regions. So you're going to regionalize this blockchain infrastructure, which is going to be a global ledger, a regional global ledger that has to share with other global regional ledgers, which is going to become a costly thing for just what we do today. We're doing petaflops and everything in our data processing. You're going to exceed that when we really scale up this blockchain infrastructure.
So I don't even know if I can go over all the notes I made for myself. With it scales really badly. Most other systems, when you horizontally scale, each shard has a constant amount of processing it has to do, even though the overall node system capacity rather increases. Blockchain, every node bears the burden of processing the entire chain. So as you scale, there's a linear increase of the entire system with every node. And Moore's law is coming to an end. So quantum may or may not dig us out of this hole. Some of the other stuff, the cost, the energy cost, this is a whole separate talk. I've plenty of articles lately, 240 kilowatt hours per transaction right now. If we blockchain all the currency, we're going to kill ourselves. We're going to be spending half our energy budget globally on just currency. That's insane. Truly insane.
I like this is where this is going. You got 30 more seconds.
Okay. So with other consensus protocols, I think we talked about that. Scaling. The other big one that no one's really paying attention to. The more we link systems together, there was that Ethereum flash crash where the entire market, it didn't crash in a day. It crashed in a few seconds. I mean, this is not good. And when you start tying things and doing smart contracts where will the door let you in? If you have enough credits, great, but do you have enough credits? Did the market crash? In that second between when you pulled out that hotel key from your wallet, the whole market globally could crash. And you go to get into your hotel room and you can't get in. So we're adding a tremendous amount of fragility by linking all these things together. And that's the last thing we need to be doing. We need to be compartmentalizing things and isolating failure, not tying everything together with unproven systems that make the entire thing ready to collapse on a whim.
Good stuff, Team Blockchain. Team Blockchain, you have 2 minutes to rebuttal against a lot of points.
Where do I start, right? Again, there are other things that we can transact apart from currency, right? So, if you think about Bitcoin and currency and virtual currency, that's something we're transacting every day, billions and billions of transactions. Many of the use cases I mentioned either in healthcare or in supply chain or, real estate, these intermediaries don't necessarily need the same proof of work or the same math. And when I think about ability to scale, even within an enterprise or a big company, we all have the potential to do a shared ledger on the numerous devices that we have. So I think if you keep, balancing what you're asking to do, and maybe it's not a mathematic proof of work, there's some other verification or validation of the transaction, then scale doesn't become the issue that Jay described.
Jay, the computer gods are being good to you. You have 2 minutes.
Oh, wow. Awesome. Well, first of all, I have a long extension cord that's plugged into Elio's house. So I'm not concerned about that. That's right. No, seriously, the amount of energy that's being used to generate consensus on the Bitcoin blockchain is crazy, and it doesn't scale. And again, this is just the first iteration. This is like a proof of concept. And the barn doors, to use an old cliche, is wide open. This is not going back. And I would like to compliment you, Elio, because I know you are passionate about seeing a new realm of workability. And I think we have the opportunity to do that here in Arizona for a couple reasons. Number one, we have very enlightened policymakers in Arizona. We have David Schweikert, who is our United States Congressman, who is the co-chair of the Blockchain Caucus. We have a vibrant cybersecurity community here, and this turnout tonight, I think, is evidence of that. And we have an opportunity to really take some of the financial horsepower that's here in town and really start to apply it not only to fintech, but also to cybersecurity. So, you want to? Okay. So, the other thing that I'd like to point out is all the young people here tonight, the people that raise their hands that are students, you're not. Disqualified. The young people have an advantage in this because they grew up in gaming, and gaming is a key element of this entire phenomenon.
Gosh, it's so funny that you would mention that, Jay. Next question we have for Team Blockchain. In the realm of combining blockchain with cybersecurity, a potential advantage that students may have over current professionals is that they're coming from a fresh viewpoint. Why is this important?
Well, that's a quick one, right? So I just think, if I apply myself to the problem, I'll probably apply traditional ways of transacting, doing commerce, or sharing, assets or things of value. I think with a fresh perspective and a, kind of new order about the way you think about things, maybe with the social grounding that we see in the new generation today, and the sense of social responsibility, that I'm kind of hoping that the applications that we developed and the database or the ledger that will be leveraged will be for things of meaningful value, things that make contribution towards society. And I think that's the shift from centralization, the use of intermediaries, the use of authority versus kind of social networks of trust and shared incentives. So that's why I'm really excited about it, and why I think the generation that's coming should own this technology and deploy it.
So, the students that are coming up today, they don't have the baggage of already having a paradigm that they're used to, accustomed to, and so forth. And getting your arms around this blockchain stuff is tough. It takes some time. Now, the people that are the incumbents in the cybersecurity realm, what's your advantage? Well, if you can start to look at this blockchain realm, you have the experience. You know what it takes to introduce something that's new and get it incorporated into legacy systems. That's your advantage. And what I would ask you to consider is that this is more than just the next interesting thing. This is not React. This is not Angular. This is something that's really, really profound.
All right, Team Notchain. If you are giving advice to a student, what alternative methodology would you suggest they go into as a substitute for blockchain? And we're going to throw, this is a little bit of a curveball to Team Notchain. They didn't know this question was coming.
Tokenization. Yeah, that's my answer.
Team Notchain, please expand.
Well, I think a lot of technologies that have been formed and put into place have been good technologies. I think for students coming in and looking at this tech,
What advantage do students have?
Well, they have an advantage of not being, I gotta speak to it, but not of course.
What alternative methodology would you suggest they go into?
Tokenization? No, I think there's a lot of different ways to kind of approach blockchains. I don't have anything against blockchains. I think it's a good technology from a standpoint of what it does. I think what other alternative technologies are kind of wrapping or kind of evolving blockchain into something more prescriptive, so where we can have identities and some other things and permissions granted inside of it. So to take blockchain and some permissions and some other things included would be the kind of the advantage, I think.
So I'm going to end on that question, but I'm going to answer the original one. So this is the new issue, the AI issue of the MIT Technology Review. There are some really interesting articles in here. You can dig them up online. And one of the most interesting things, deep neural networks that are revolutionizing, they're allowing self-driving cars, they're allowing all kinds of new stuff, translations, classifications, all that. Anyone know how old those are? When did that technology, when was it invented? More than that, over 30 years ago. The reason it didn't catch on is we didn't have the processing power, we didn't have the data sets to train them. Similar, blockchains. Anyone know when the underlying technology of blockchains was invented? 1975, Merkle trees were patented.
Please continue, Alien.
Okay. So what I'm getting at is a lot of these technologies that seem really new, really interesting, these are not new. These are old. They're now enabled by the amount of processing power, memory, and data we have. And everyone seems to be running out there to build their own little thing and not invent it here. So it's a major problem we have in computer science. Everyone wants to be like, oh, I totally invented this myself. And that's not what we should be doing. We should be looking at what's been done. There's some amazing research that happened in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, and then even continuing to the 80s. And if we really look at that, if we were to truly understand what was there, we can make great things happen. So I would argue that the kids that want to come in, they have an advantage, and I agree with what Jay said, yeah, giving a rebuttal anyway, but they have an advantage. It's a little easier to get into this, but that does not discount the work that was already done. And that's a major problem in tech is ageism. We do not respect wisdom. We do not respect existing knowledge bases, and that's a huge problem. We're making a lot of stupid mistakes.
You have 15 more seconds.
That are trivial to avoid if you actually talk to the people that have done this first. So that would be my advice is, yes, you have an advantage. Get out there, learn what's been done, and let's move forward. But we have to look backward and know where we're coming from before we can move forward.
Alrighty, at this point, we have some audience questions. I should have asked for names on this, so I'm going to ask you to raise your hand if this is your question, because this is a great question. Who asked this question first before we answer it? You're going to have 30 seconds to answer. This question is going to be for the blockchain team. When quantum computers can crack crypto quickly, how will it affect cryptocurrencies? Who asked that question? Do we have back here? We have a bright young mind of the future right there, or a bright young mind of right now. I can't tell. Team blockchain. When quantum computers can crack crypto quickly, how will it affect cryptocurrencies?
Well, cryptocurrency, I think, is James' point. It could potentially undermine the system, so I agree with that. Again, what I think is there's numerous different applications of blockchain, and I'm not sure that, when you think about different ways to do validation, that the quantum aspect is going to be that relevant. So if we think about, the other business or use cases that could be applied, just using the basic principles of a distributed ledger, trust and numerous nodes, I mean, in theory, you could scale broad enough to deal with quantum.
Let's stick with this question. I want to hear an end of days kind of answer here from the team NotChain. What's going to happen when quantum computers can crack crypto quickly?
Actually, I'm surprised you didn't take that, Jay, because as Jay often points out, the biggest problem right now is it's proof of work in Bitcoin is the reason that's a threat. There are other models that make that not a threat. So kind of going to land on your side and say, yeah, quantum computing, eventually when those come down from less than like $100 million per machine, and they actually do full quantum computing, unlike the D-Wave, then maybe there'll be a threat, but there are other alternatives. You can move to ECC, you can move to other quantum resistant algorithms. So it's not really that big a deal.
Thank you, Elio. Go ahead and stay up there, Elio. So, who asked this question? Do you see cryptocurrencies being controlled by governments and central banks in the future? Love that question. Who asked that question?
The future is now. I believe, was it Taiwan or Korea just outlawed them? China had a big crackdown. There's this idea that blockchains can get you around government, which is not really true. In a black market type of way, yeah, you can do some ransomware stuff and all that, but if you're not some criminal on the dark web, they're not going to get you around that. You're going to have to interface with the rest of the banking industry. They'll get you. And I think there was just an article I saw earlier today that the IRS wants a full audit of Coinbase. Anyone who's ever touched anything on Coinbase. So you can't get around it. And as it becomes a bigger issue, yes, they're going to regulate it. And the other big thing is as this all comes crashing down, there's going to be a dip. It's probably not going to kill it. But once that happens, you'll see regulation just like we saw in the stock market. So.
Team Blockchain, let's stick with that. Do you see cryptocurrencies being controlled by governments and central banks in the future? And expand on that, because I'm specifically interested to know. I mean, this is like where the rubber meets the road, right? We have cryptocurrency, we have blockchain technology specifically so we can stay anonymous. So expand.
So I like to try to boil things down into threes. And in a paradigm like this, I boil this into 3 parts: the technology, the code, and the networking and so forth, the business models, and the policy. And in my view, one of the biggest areas for innovation is the policy. We are hungry in this space, and for it to really, spread and scale, there has to be innovation in the policy realm. There have to be safeguards for people. We can't have what happened this week where $300 million just disappears in a press of a button. So there's a big opportunity for innovation. Fortunately, our state is looking to lead that innovation in the policy. Our Attorney General, Mark Brnovich, has proposed a fintech sandbox, which could include blockchain, where you can basically
10 seconds.
Apply for an innovation space in this realm. And I think that's a big opportunity.
Good stuff, guys. Good stuff. All right. Let's see how this question goes over. They say blockchain is visible. Is it? And how do you view the blocks on a blockchain if it is? Who asked that question? Anybody want to own up to that question? All right. Team Blockchain. Well, actually, let's go Team Notchain right now.
I got one here that I want to answer.
Right. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm sure. Yeah, you probably know, but I mean, certainly transactions are visible, and the ledger, in theory, can be kind of tracked back, and you can find eventually, within the wallet or someone, the original person that did the transaction. But I think on the last point, I'm going to cheat here a little bit and just mention it. Not all government intervention or control as it relates to blockchain is necessarily a bad thing. And while we all kind of bulk at the establishment getting involved in new technology and killing the technology, but I spent time in Estonia and looked at that blockchain ecosystem, and all the citizens carry a smart card, and every transaction, whether it's government related or in private database, is all controlled on a blockchain backbone. And the experience of the citizen is infinitely better than what we experience here. So I think, under government control, that could even provide value.
Thank you very much, both teams. We're going to have 1 or 2 more questions for the panel, but first, we have an activity. So I think everybody has a number on their name tag. I heard about numbers on name tags somewhere. All right, everybody has a number on your name tag, 1 through 10. The last thing that we want to do when we're coming to a networking group is not network with people that we don't know. So we're going to make you talk to people that you do not know. If you have a 1, find table 1 over here. If you have a 2, come to 2. If you have a 3, a 4, a 5, find your table number.
Oh, I guess that was 6. We're 6. We're 9. That's really good. Yes. So what? Go on.
It's nice to meet you.
All right, has everybody found the table? Is everybody at a table? If I can have everyone's attention, please. Do we have our tables situated?
Oh, you are?
All right, everybody go ahead and find your table. Find your table. Stop talking once you find your table. We will get to that. All right, so we have questions for the groups now. If everybody can pay attention up here, we're gonna network again. We're gonna have plenty of time for conversation. We do have a question for the groups. If I could have everyone's attention, please. If I could have everyone's attention, please. If we could stop talking. If we could stop talking.
Doesn't seem to be working.
All right, I definitely feel like I'm talking to my son right now. All right. If you guys are all in groups now, please stop talking. Please stop talking. All right, we have great networkers here. We have professional networkers here, in fact. We have a question for the audience. We want you guys to talk about cybersecurity. If I could have your guys' attention, please. All righty. As a group, we want to ask the question to the group, to discuss in your group. Is there a new realm of cybersecurity to investigate where blockchain and cryptocurrency have laid a foundation of a new possible innovation? Everybody discuss with your group. We're going to select randomly 3 to 4 tables. Each table designates a leader that's going to answer for your group. We're going to randomly choose 3 to 4 of you. So is there a new realm of cybersecurity to investigate where blockchain and cryptocurrency have laid a foundation of a new possible innovation? This is the time to impress people. If you have new ideas, new creative thoughts, get them out there. You're in the right crowd. You have 5 minutes.
It's not mainstream yet. It's not a technology not deal with it. Yeah. And we deal with governance, security, risk, and compliance. Well, just put it this way, until they actually put in all the security controls and defense program, they will never go to because encryption is
Yeah, and
there's
that's,
multiple layers you just put in to protect the encryption.
so that's what point is very valid. And everybody else, it might be difficult to still not change.
People are doing it. People are doing it. Because they have fraud. So there's a lot of money going into research. Banks are putting money in there.
That's the biggest question because in a financial institution, when you utilize blockchain, there has to be real money. That's why America will never go.
Yes, or the banking system, I think about
The same thing they regulate.
federal regulation is going to always allow this. There is no partisan. It doesn't matter. There are regulations.
Not on blockchain.
Blockchain's not a regulated program. But if it was being used, it's a for the regulation. So we have to be protected.
Blockchain is not being used in the government. If it is being used, I'm working. But you, where about where it might fit in the government.
So, removing the cryptocurrency as an innovative, once you put on the cryptocurrency component, then you're looking at all of the regulatory components and all that. How we, even though we're not like the standard, So we're looking at the operating system, the underlying databases, and the applications. We don't take that into consideration. Whenever you put any technology in place, the first layer of the piece is right? Everything that comes in and out of that perimeter is what you got. Then you get into the configuration, then you get into the database, software. That's the concern. You know what I mean? But that's the thing. We're creating the gating. Those are also things that you should be doing as a part of your security That's the point. Not everybody's doing it.
There's already smart contracts and land teams
All right, how are we all doing on these answers? Raise your hand if you have a solid answer. If you have a solid answer. Man, I see so many hands up right now.
It's like confidential data. Well, you gotta remember though, there's a lot of things that are being regulated. Like we were discussing earlier, PII versus the data.
That's a big deal that we're watching.
So when they're using blockchain,
Not blockchain. No, not blockchain. Talk about how blockchain is, how difficult it is to actually break into a blockchain. Yeah, it's much harder to break into a blockchain and do anything nefarious than it is for C++, Java, Python, any of those. Oh yeah, shut it down.
Number one.
Well, the maximum matter what you have. You have excellent and a lot of it has to make it up now is we have to say. And so we don't want to take
Alrighty, time's up. If you don't see the screen, time's up. Time's up. Alrighty, so we have chosen randomly, completely random, playing no favorites at all, 4 representatives to answer these questions. If we can go ahead and give them some silence to answer, that would be phenomenal. First up, we have Corwin Jenkins. Corwin, what company are you with?
CSA Insurance.
CSA Insurance? I know them well. All right, Corwin. I'm going to switch mics.
So our question from our group was, how will blockchain protect us from quantum hacking?
So we're actually.
So I would say,
we're going to regroup on this one. We're going to regroup.
All right, we got Brady. Brady, who is with Alvarez and Marsal. Brady, is there a new realm of cybersecurity to investigate where blockchain and cryptocurrency have laid the foundation of a new possible innovation? If everybody could give Brady the respect of the floor. There you go.
Thanks. So I'm from Table 2. Table 2 represent. So we do, yes, there is a new realm of cybersecurity to investigate. One of the pet peeves, we talk about blockchain, we don't always have to talk about cryptocurrency. We can apply it to other challenges, and a lot of it has to do with fundamentals that our industry faces. A couple of the brainstorms we had was supply chain management, identity and access management. Mr. Mott mentioned the different nodes. He held up his phone. We mentioned BYOD. How do we look at session-to-session traffic? We look at protocols. We look at transport. We look at applications. We look at systems-to-systems. We're trying to software-defined networking is creating situations where we can create a more granular level of control over our traffic and our applications and the data. Where is it going? Where is it allowed to go? Maybe if we can apply blockchain, distributed ledger, smart contracts to that without ever even thinking about cryptocurrency, we can find a solution. Yes. Is cryptocurrency pseudo-anonymous? Yes. That's not necessarily the case when we're talking about distributed ledger systems. You can subscribe to a known, where you are a known actor. And again, we talked about what happens if the identity is compromised. It's still a basic question. That's the #1 fundamental problem in our industry. Is we have a hard time ensuring that non-repudiation is ensured. Table 2 theme.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Put your eyes on Brady. I think we've identified another super bright mind of tomorrow or today. Alrighty, we've got Bob. Bob, tell us where you're from.
Large financial tech
The best
company.
financial This is something very secure.
Table 1, we talked about all kinds of stuff. This is probably not what we all talked about, but personally, I think the end user, the person with their cell phone that wants to try to do Bitcoin, how do you keep that secure? Key management. If you've got multiple wallets, cold wallets, your 12 words that you got to keep that you want to print out, all that. That's once you start getting more wallets and more different cryptocurrencies that you're keeping track of that kind of stuff, keeping it secure, not losing it, keeping your hardware safe, backed up, etc., for the end user to make it much more able for them to buy a beer over here with .000 whatever Bitcoin. That's where I think the realm of cryptocurrency, the foundation, a lot more of that is necessary to make it viable for everyone to use on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Good stuff, Bob. Good stuff, Bob. All right, next we have Ben. Dom from table 9. Table 9, what up? Take it away, Dom.
I did this for a drink token.
Anybody else want to give an answer?
As far as innovation being brought on by cryptocurrency, we can look at it as encryption. When you bring money into a situation like this, it's going to change things. So it's going to want encryption will be improved. It can be harder to crack. That means hardware has to keep up with it. So we can look, especially GPU power. I mean, when it comes to cryptocurrency, if you're not using a GPU, then you're really not doing a lot. When we can get GPUs to be more powerful and do more things, it can be applied to other things as well.
Cheers.
Yeah. That's all I got.
That's good stuff. Very good stuff. All right, I think we have time for one more answer if somebody's just dying to give their answer. We have somebody just dying to give their answer because you got such good insight.
I'll try.
All right, we're gonna have
So, I guess the new realm of cybersecurity is what we were looking at is like the actual speed of the transaction. The speed of the transaction when it comes to the stock markets. Is it going to be faster to encrypt? Is it going to be faster to decrypt? Is it still going to be backed by gold? If the transactions are going that fast with quantum computing, how is blockchain going to actually help us do that? So I guess that would be my action, my realm, to actually ask them.
Thank you very much, Paul. All righty, guys, we do actually have just one person that cannot let this go.
Sorry.
We have a question for Alio. How can blockchain work with AI to provide cybersecurity? You have 30 seconds-ish.
And honestly, the main reason I want to address that question is, man, so close. If you had just put IoT in there, you would have won bingo. There would have been balloons and confetti and $1 million from Silicon Valley. That question, I don't want to demean it. It's an interesting question, but it's a very complicated answer, so I'm not going to answer it right now. But taking these really complex systems and adding them together, that's a great way to get funding because no one knows what's going to happen. So they just give you money and hope for the best. But it's really, this is the problem with a lot of these technologies. There's very, very complex with a lot of nuance. And it takes years of research to even figure out how this stuff might play together. So almost bingo, but again, do your research. Like this, quick money's great, but a working product's better.
Good stuff. If you guys are truly interested in any of these topics, I think Elio brought up some good points. Do your research. I think a lot of people believe that this really truly is the future. And I think that if you have enough people that believe this is the future, then it really is. I also think at the end of the day that if you have enough people that don't think this is the future, then there will be alternatives. That's what we're coming together as a group today. So a couple notes. First of all, thank you so much to everybody for coming. I hope you enjoyed the debate. On the screen over here, we're going to make it big in a second, but if you do want to get involved, there's a few links here that you can go to. If you're, so first of all, I have to mention, McKesson is currently looking for several cybersecurity positions of many different levels. If you are interested in any of those roles, feel free to get a hold of McKesson directly on their careers page. Feel free to get a hold of Vincent Benjamin directly. But there's a lot of options right now. If you'd like to learn more about Desert Blockchain, they have regular meetups. They have regular. They have regular meetups. They have regular live streams as well. There's a couple other links on here as well. Other than that, get involved, guys. This is our group. Our mission at We Protect PHX is to be a connector of connectors. We know that the cybersecurity community in Phoenix is just ready to explode. It's ready to take off right now. And you guys are at the center of it. Our goal is to take every cybersecurity group and professional in Phoenix and connect them together so that you guys can work with each other. Network, ask people questions, get involved, eat a little more, drink up, enjoy the time, stay as long as you'd like, and enjoy the rest of your night, guys. Thank you very much for everything.
I work for